Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to playoff racing action. A new round is here upon us for the ISRC Race Car Graveyard Truck Series. It's the start of the round of 12 for the playoffs. And tonight, we go road course racing action to start off this round. Again, each round, only 2 races. We've got tonight at Road America. Then next week, the drivers head to Nashville for the Nashville Fairgrounds. A tough round that we're excited to give you all the coverage here on Freaky Fast Broadcasting. My name is Sam Dyer. Joining me is Zach Hall. And Zach, this should be an interesting race to just see how the drivers can tame this course.
Yeah, man, it's going to be a tough one out there tonight. Normally, you don't see too many road course races when it comes to playoff racing action, but here in this round, it is a scary one that these drivers have entered into. And first starting it off tonight is Road America, then they got the terror of the Nashville Fairgrounds next week. But they're going to have to first conquer this tough 14-turn, 4-mile racetrack, one of the longest road courses they go to in NASCAR. And, man, it's a very technical because it's got high-speed, slow-speed corners, so it has a very varied amount of corners. And these drivers look like they have a handful here tonight trying to gather these trucks up through each of the corners.
Yeah, I've been hearing a lot of the drivers saying that it's the high-speed corners they're much more nervous about than the slower corners, where this setup is really built for, as the drivers going to be using a custom setup here this evening to see how well they can change things up, as this course not traditionally thrown at most leagues, but excited to see how it's going to go. And as well, another thanks, Robert Moyer Jr., who's going to be running the productions here this evening. As the drivers were starting off in qualifying, the reasoning why is because he's road course qualifying. Instead of 5 minutes like we have at our traditional ovals, the drivers get 10 minutes of time, and they only get 2 laps to see who can get the fastest time to get that pole award, which, Zach, 10 minutes certainly seems like a lot of time to work with.
Yeah, 10 minutes is plenty of time to work with, but when also you're doing 2 minutes, almost, some drivers in almost the 20-second bracket there, but most the faster drivers around the 14 to 15 seconds, so 2 minutes and 15 seconds around this racetrack. And then you got to include the out lap also if you're going to be doing 2 full laps, so it's technically 3 laps, and you're going to be looking to get up almost upwards into the 8 to 7 minutes of use time there. So these drivers got to utilize their time well here, and also try not to go off course and get what we call in iRacing an off-track incident point, because any incident point like that will invalidate that lap and will ruin anything you've done on that lap, so you'll only have another attempt at it. And I tell you, the first lap seems to be the way to go from what I was watching in practice. Seems like drivers were putting their fastest lap down then, and then the tires did seem to fall off with this 4-mile course. So we'll see what the first couple times are. If you mess up on the first one, you're going to have to be picture perfect on that second, because you do not want to get both times invalidated.
Tire fall off, though, that's something we're going to touch on a little bit more later on, just because tire fall off is something that we don't really traditionally see at a lot of these next gen vehicles that they run, as so drivers are certainly trying their best to try to keep themselves under control with the way that these vehicles are handling this tire wear. But tonight, big thanks to the head sponsor here for the ISRC Truck Series. That is Race Car Graveyard. If you're looking to get yourself some diecast collections, go head over to that of Race Car Graveyard. Go get yourself a diecast anywhere from the 1/24th to 1/64th ratios. Remember to use code RCGY when you are at purchase to get yourself 10% off. As drivers currently on their first timed lap, as we're watching the 38, that of Christopher Norris. Norris, one of the drivers that's still in the playoffs. We've got 12 in total, and really, Christopher Norris, one of those drivers that's going to need to have a great run.
Yeah, Norris is definitely going to be looking to get a good run here at this road course. And, he's actually performed well in previous road course races. So I think he has a good chance here tonight to build on something going into the National Fairgrounds. And if you can make, a gap for yourself entering that track coming up, you will really enjoy that, because it'll make your life a lot easier and a lot less of, the tension and the nerves. But anytime you have 2 races in a round, it's always going to be super, super close. So we'll have to see how it all plays out here at Road America, but I think qualifying here is going to be the key thing too, because we do have a stage at lap 10, so that will bring them back in. But always track position seems to be the one huge thing that road courses that you always need. If you're starting farther back and behind positions, that is seconds, maybe even a couple seconds that you're losing to those drivers up ahead.
Well, let's see where the seconds are going to lie. It's across the line. First driver going to be Mark Whitley in the 77. He's going to be a driver hoping to find an extra gear, because this 4 Machine and Nick Crawford's hoping to get that pole award. Cross the line. for the 4, and he will top the board with a 2-minute and 13.561 time over that of Mark Whitley, and that is a blistering pace compared to everyone else so far, but we still have a lot of fast runners still waiting to put their first time in.
Yeah, the one I got my eye on right now is Trenton Jump. We'll see if he can look to put down a lap similar to Nick Crawford. He was pretty close to him in that practice session. They were kind of trading those lap times back and forth for who the fastest guy was in practice. But that lap right there was, I mean, a half a second clear of really anything we've seen all night. So Nick Crawford really saving his best right here for qualifying. And it's so tough because, like I said earlier, when you got that risk of getting an incident point and just making that one mistake that takes that lap away. Nick Crawford goes out there, pushes to his limit, but does not make a mistake, and that may come back to win him the pole here. But again, we'll have to see. Trenton Jump is coming out turn 14 now, so I gotta be a good feeling. I think this might be a close time here between these top two.
There's a lot of speed to be watching out for as Trenton Jump coming across the line now. Going to be watching that ticker board. Where does the 46 lie as he comes across the line? Not looking to be extremely quick because some drivers, we talked about it, Zach, simple mistakes could be costly in that of canceling out your lap time. We've had 4 drivers put in at least 1 lap, and 4 drivers not even get those times counted. Trenton Jump, Jonathan Smith, John Forbes, and Eric Stamp are those 4 drivers that are going to miss out on that first extremely quick lap.
Yeah, that is a huge mistake for those drivers, and they're going to have to make up for it here on this second lap. And when you make that mistake on the first lap, as the driver, mentally, you kind of lose a little bit of that edge, as they would say. You just start to back it down just that little bit more to not have that same mistake play out. And sometimes backing it down at a road course can actually play into where you actually make another mistake. So it's one of those weird places where, slowing down sometimes will not always help you, but it'll definitely be a lap time that they need to put down here, and they'll be hoping to get that in here in the final 3 minutes. But we'll see as they cross the line here. We'll see what this 25 machine puts down as Cody Reed looks like he goes slower on that second lap. And again, you talked about tire fall off. That's something we're going to see big time in the race here tonight. But I think tire fall off here in qualifying is going to be a huge factor also.
I think also for that, Cody Reed, he did have a couple of mistakes. Speaking of mistakes, there's going to be one of them by Eric Stamp as he'll come sliding after being finished up with his qualifying. Only able to be up to 12th for the 53 after his first lap was invalidated as more drivers trickling in. But I'm keeping my eye on my side of things. Zach, the 46, Trenton Jump is not looking great. But we're seeing a lot of wiggling from the rear end. That's something to be expected as here comes John Forbes to finish out his time.
Yeah, we'll see what Forbes can do here as he made his way into this round here. And it'll be a 2:16.94 there for him for the 10th fastest lap of the night. So not the greatest time also there for him, but now Trenton Jump will be coming out turn 14. I think you're right. His lap did not look the most clean, and it's going to be interesting to see where this will place him coming to the line here. So looks like Mark Whitley also going for his second lap.
Mark Whitley going to be done with qualifying. It's going to be a 2-minute and 15.187. His best time, a full second and a half faster, is that of Nick Crawford over the 77 as Trenton Jump bounces up to second place. But Zach, the speed difference was just too much from that first lap to the second. He's still over a second slower than Nick Crawford.
Yeah, that just shows right there the tires really do matter here at this road course. I mean, 4 miles, he had to do almost 8 miles with those tires like that. And, it really takes a toll. This track is a place where you'll see more fall off than most road courses. So we'll see how it all plays out here. As I think a few guys are getting a little bit more practice. Jonathan Smith there in the 72 just spins it around.
As he was done with his time, that was practice for himself. Here is going to be Danny Cochran getting himself coming around the final couple of bends for himself.
We'll see what Danny Cochran can do, but Cedric Hunter here going to be coming for his second lap. His first one was and he goes a little bit faster actually, only about a couple hundredths faster, which won't move him up in the order, but he'll stay 5th at the moment with his teammate Christopher Norris and Nick Crawford, both 1 and Danny Cochran there. Again, he's going to put down a quick lap. He was very quick in practice. He's going to be 3rd. So good job by him here in the final few 30 seconds to get that time in, because that could have been detrimental for him if he didn't get a time in.
As drivers are getting finished up with their times, qualifying about to be in a conclusion here in just about 10 seconds. And where the ticker board is where drivers will lie, because there's just not enough time to put in any other laps for the rest of the field. And we got to give a big thanks to the qualifying sponsor for this evening and for the whole entire season here at the ISRC Race Car Graveyard Truck Series. That is the Laugh Lap. The Laugh Lap is a meme community page on Instagram to allow you to have some good fun, good laughs while looking at some racing content on Instagram. Go head over to the_laugh_lap to get yourself some great comedy fun on Instagram. As the drivers, you're seeing them being stacked up. And Zach, just a little bit of time before we get ourselves under green flag racing, the first race of the round of 12. What do you think the mindset is for these drivers that are in the playoffs?
I think the big mindset here is go get stage points first off. They got to get to lap 10, get as many stage points because that'll help build that gap here for later in the race. If you do have a slight mistake, but you want to go out there, make a statement early here, get some good stage points that'll really help the momentum roll into the rest of the race. And then from there, you look for that win, because if you can lock yourself in here tonight at Road America, you won't have to worry about going into that Nashville Fairgrounds.
As the drivers that are in the playoffs are going to have the gold banner, splitter, and spoiler. So look out for those for the drivers to be in the playoffs, as well as some drivers not deciding to put those on. Cedric Hunter in the 13, not repping the playoff banner or splitter, but he is one of the favorites to watch out for to try to move on to the next round. Big notes to watch out for. Tonight's race, 35 laps in total. There will be a full course yellow thrown at that of the stage break, which will be at the end of lap 10. Once 10th place crosses the line, the drivers also will have 4 sets of tires in pit road to work with. No fast repairs. And Zach, with the way that these tires are looking, with how much they're slipping and sliding, I think that could be another factor to watch out for on how much these drivers want to come into pit road just to take tires.
Yeah, definitely. Also, the factor that plays into this also is when we get that stage break, we won't go back green where they can make it to the end of this race. They will have to pit somewhere in that last portion of this race also. So you're looking at least around 2 pit stops here tonight. And also, I've heard a few drivers talking about hitting pit road before it closes, a couple laps before it does. So, that's a risky call, especially with how the tire wear is going to play out here tonight and how much fall off there will be. But if you're looking for track position, that may be the way to go, especially because you have to stop once again and you won't have a full distance run here tonight.
As you can see it on our ticker board on the left, here are going to be where the drivers start out here this evening. Going to be Nick Crawford in first, Trent Jump going to be in second, Denny Cochran going to be in third, Mark Whitley fourth, with that of Christopher Norris fifth, sixth going to be Cedric Hunter as well. It's going to be Cody Reed and that of Ethan Smith, Ollie Fonseca, Logan Brady going to be your top 10. Pace car is off. Let's get ready to roll in playoff racing style, road course racing here at Road America, as it is that of the Lid Sports Group 140, and we're green as we head down into turn number 1.
A great start for Trenton Jump on that outer groove here. Nick Crawford not able to stay right with him and almost noses clear of him, but I think Nick Crawford going to go deep in here into turn 1, but almost Danny Cochran into the back bumper. They're going to stay side by side here, exiting out turn 1 as they head down to 2 and 3 here. As you can see, the rear end's already stepping out.
And drivers have done practice races throughout the week trying to predict how these cars are going to react. And right up front, the important battle. If Nick Crawford, Trent Jump, whoever takes the lead, going to be a very important battle. That's why they continue to stay side by side.
And it seems like going through the gears, that 4 machine's been a little bit quicker, but they stay side by side. There's behind them even Mark Whitley, Cedric Hunter, everybody heading down to turn 5 here, where the hardest braking zone of this track downhill. Right there, you can see for the back bumper cam, 3 wide as Whitley takes that position, but he goes almost around there as Crawford takes the lead, and Cochran holds over the position over Cedric Hunter.
And beautiful passing being made by Mark Whitley, just trying to grab a little bit too much, but still every corner an opportunity for mistakes to be grabbed as Nick Crawford takes the lead over Trenton Jump. We hop on board with the 77 of Mark Whitley as he dives down into the hard braking zone of that of turn 8.
Yeah, this is a really hard braking zone. Also, and there's a couple of this racetrack that are very good for passing, and that is one of them there at turn 5. Also right there, and also at Canada corner later after the kink here. But right through this right here, this corner, it is very, very loose, and you can see these drivers trying to hold on it. And it seems like those right-handers, this truck really wants to over-rotate as they head to this kink. This is where they might even see a little bit too much rotation.
Yeah, a little bit, as drivers have been known to be going off course and into the grass, but a little steady as we're still getting a sense of what it's like as drivers head into Canada corner where drivers can easily get a little bit less braking that they need and go into the sand trap. Got to be careful here.
Yeah, you really have to be careful there. Like you said, that sand trap is so dangerous. Once you get in there, it really doesn't want to turn, and then you have the tire barriers to the outside that can play a big factor. So right here, early in the go, and you're already seeing a little bit of separation from everybody to be expected here at this road course. But right now, these drivers are just holding on. I'm seeing a lot of rear ends kicking out sideways, and that was the big thing heading into here tonight. Which driver can make the least amount of mistakes here is going to be the one that can really come out of here with the best position.
Zach, it's just lap 1. These drivers still have plenty more laps to go, meaning that if you're sliding at this time, that sliding's only going to get worse as the run continues on. That's 1 lap in. Nick Crawford still leading the way. That a Trenton Jump going to be in 2nd place. These are 2 drivers that have put in a lot of time and practice to make sure that they were set up prepared, knowing that tonight you could be locking yourself into the next round.
Yeah, I think Trenton Jump here, he had this one possibly circled. He remembers last time at Watkins Glen what happened to him there. Really got a win taken away from him with such a dominant race going on in that first stage from him. But got took out on a restart there to restart that stage, and he's really going to be looking to come back from that. But I can tell you, like you said, Sam, the preparation was there from the floor this week. He really went to work here. He knew this would be a place that he could possibly look to get himself locked into that next round, and it's already looking good. But Danny Cochran behind this, the 31 goes around in the background. You can see the smoke back there because, man, the 31 just goes right around, and that was a simple mistake. Oh, man, even Christopher Norris passes Mark Whitley, so everything is going sideways here.
From 3rd to outside the top 10, and you want to be inside the top 10. Those bonus points, so useful, and you're going to want every single point possible. I mean, last round, Ethan Smith now goes into the gravel. But, Zach, last round, it was a 3-way tie on who was going to move on into racing into this round of 12.
Yeah, it just shows you every single point matters. And oh, there's more cars wrecked in the carousel. I believe that is the 72 of Jonathan Smith. He also, his teammate is Mark Whitley, actually stuck a tire off in the grass, and he almost got wrecked. And there's just drivers having all types of issues here as these rear ends are stepping out. And the thing you brought up, saying it's only the first and now the 2nd lap. So this is only going to continue to get worse and worse as the night goes on and as those tires get more wear. And Christopher Norris now off in the Canada corner. It's just mistake after mistake here plaguing these drivers.
That was something I was talking with the drivers about. It was all about who can minimize those mistakes. Just keep your car on track. I was talking to Noah Steele even about that. With the 8, he does not feel comfortable. He's one of the drivers that's the lowest down in points, and he even knew that he had to minimize mistakes. Cedric Hunter, that goes off as he falls down a couple of positions. Everyone slipping and sliding. This is only the 1st lap. 2nd lap being completed. We're on lap 3, and Isaac Shelley, one of our playoff contenders, really already finding himself with major issues. As the 98, he started on pit road. Well, he'll finish in pit road.
Yeah, he's out of this race here that quickly, and man, this race is turned upside down in the first 3 laps. These drivers are finding out quickly this truck is a handful. They're going to have to figure out how to hold on to these machines because mistakes are all over the place here on this 4-mile racetrack. It was one after another. Cedric Hunter out of the last corner makes a huge mistake, and look where he's at now. He's well behind, with multiple drivers gaining a lot from this, and the one who really gained the most, in my opinion, Ali Fonseca. He's up to the 4th position here after starting 9th. Unfortunately for him, he was knocked out last week due to that tiebreaker.
Yeah, that tiebreaker really didn't help the 24 out, but the amount of preparation this 24 has been practicing all day long and throughout the week, just trying to figure out this track, knowing it was going to be tough, and then minimizing those mistakes has allowed this 24 to be the biggest mover so far, up 5 positions, and now pressuring Mark Whitley.
Yeah, pressuring Mark Whitley indeed, and Whitley's been the one who's been having a lot of sliding around, just trying to hold on to this truck. And now Fonseca will take a look here, heading down into the carousel. And this corner right here is where a lot of drivers have been very sideways. And Whitley, it's just the slip angle of these trucks. They are never very straight in the corners. They're always just yawling out just a little too much, and that is telling me the rear tires are just taking a beat, and it's only going to continue to get worse as he goes into the kink now and blows that corner. It is going to be very, very tough to get that truck back up to speed with the grass on the tires now as Fonseca goes by into 3rd position. He just says, thank you guys, that was very, very nice of y'all.
And now right behind them, Christopher Norris, who's done a great job recovering. Now he's at the trouble corner that he had last lap. He'll hold on and stay right on the back bumper of the 77 of Mark Whitley, and everyone else just squeezing in as the 38 Christopher Norris thought maybe he was going to be knocked out last round. Didn't have the most confidence, but when he gets to the road courses, this is where the 38 really starts to shine.
He really does, man. And it's at the ovals he's still picking up that pace, and he's getting better. almost week in and week out as he learns. But some reason these road courses, he really seems to take a knack for him, and I think it's because he does prepare. He does work very hard there, along with Nick Crawford at the Snowy Desert Racing Team. So he's had a good teammate to really compare with and talk about these things coming into this race. And this could be huge for Christopher Norris. If he goes out here and gets a top 5 tonight, gets a top 5 in the stage, he could be in a very good spot to move on to that next round. And that would be a huge story for this 38 who made it in on a tiebreaker there. And you can see up ahead, even Fonseca now sliding a little bit. It's just everybody except for our top 2 who have pretty much disappeared into about a 10-second gap now on the rest of this field.
Yeah, it is a massive gap. You got to be careful. The grass, not your friend if you get close to it. Side by side into turn number 5. Outbraking is going to be Mark Whitley, but can he get the launch out of the corner? That's been his trouble spot. It's a 24. He'll loop in that rear end, but somehow holding on.
Yeah, he did a good job of holding on to that thing because it could have got away from him. But, oh, man, Mark Whitley blows the next left-hander there after turn 5. So turn 6 did not be nice to him there. But this turn 7 has been very, very free as it's the right-handers that have been plaguing these drivers when it comes to the loose condition. Now heading down to turn 8 here before the carousel. This left-hander, everybody has been talking about these left-handers a little bit more tight, a little bit not more wanting to rotate as you go into that right-hand carousel, though. The opposite happens. So they're just having a handful here tonight so far, and it's interesting to see because all these mistakes are going to make for a very interesting race.
I mean, it's pick a pack, any pack. There's about 4 of them out there on track. You've got the drivers that are battling to stay inside of our top 3. Then you've got the group back here that are just trying to crack inside of the top 10. This is being led by Ethan Smith in 11th place. And he's got Dakota Moniz, Eric Stamp, Noah Steele, drivers that are just trying to go for a decent day, recognizing next week is going to be their big opportunity to gain big numbers on points.
Yeah, they definitely are looking for greener pastures next week at the National Fairgrounds, which, I hate to say for them, it's going to be a tough track also with how bumpy and how just, difficult and demanding of a track it is there. So you want to come out here at Road America with a good position, but at least for Ethan Smith's sake, he's back here in 11th. He did have a 5-point gap here coming in with that win in the last round at Rockingham, so that will really help his case a little bit more. But if you're outside of those stage points, all those 5 points you regained could be very well missed here by your competition who's up front.
Speaking of up front competition, is Eric Stamp. You can see that front bumper. It is not looking good for that 53. Crunched in, not looking as pristine as it once was. And that's going to be hurting him a ton as we're seeing it here on the front stretch. Able to just completely be gapped by the 8 machine to the outside, easily in the better position. Needs Noah Steele. The 8 will gladly take an easy spot like that.
Yeah, he'll gladly take that position as they both pretty much now have pretty similar front ends when it comes to that, and they'll be hanging on to that. But behind them is Tyler Dingler. He's started in the 16th position. He is up 1 position up in here into the 15th spot. He also has the playoff driver there, Kyle Rochelle, right directly behind him in the bright yellow neon machine there in 16th. And Kyle Rochelle, he's going to need a good night here to help his case also to move on, as he came in 5 points down, tied with the rest of the drivers who didn't have bonus points other than Mark Whitley and Ethan Smith. So this is a tough case for him, who sees a lot of his competition right now in stage points.
We got Nolan Hicks back in 17th position, just trying to keep this 86 out of trouble, recognizing other drivers might have issues, and one of those being Jonathan Smith, who just cannot figure out how to stay stable at all with the 72, and just banking to see whenever we can get into pit road, as we are now halfway through stage 1. Stage 1 comes to a conclusion at the end of lap 10 for these drivers, which feels like an eternity from now. But they've got to be quick on their toes as the pit road is about to be closed here in just 3 laps.
Yeah, exactly that. I brought that strategy up, and it's going to be tough, I think, to make a strategy like that even play out here at Road America. So, especially with the tire wear, the tire fall off that we've seen. I mean, our leaders, they took off at about a 2:15.29 last time by. Trenton Jump was the fastest car at 2:16.31. So they're already seeing about a second of fall off from their fastest lap, and that's only 5 laps into this race. And it's only going to continue to get worse as that. But you can see right here, Nick Crawford, he's got smooth selling right now as he's looking very, very strong, as he's been able to open that gap up by about 0.2 on this last lap. It's almost to a 3-second gap, but about 2.7 at the last line. But a little bit of a mistake there. You see him trying to catch that machine, and it seems like those right-handers again is what is plaguing these drivers.
And it's, just showing it. Even our leader dealing with the same issues that everyone else is, but trying to keep it a lot more smoother on the exit, which, Zach, there's only so many things you can do to try to help that exit speed and that exit control.
Yeah, it's so difficult, especially once you start sliding on entry. And that's what a lot of what I've been noticing is very much it's a lot of entry sliding going on that they're trying to catch and really hold on to. And you can see right there, I mean, just right through that turn 5 right there, the hardest braking corner and one of the slowest speed corners there at that left-hander there. It still is breaking sideways just because I think these rear tires from those right-handers, how much they're sliding, are starting to wear those rear tires. So now the left-handers are starting to free up a little bit also. So it definitely is making every corner a handful. But really the only way you can manage that as a driver is just try to slide the least you possibly can. If you can be the driver you're going to slide. It's pretty much inevitable at this point. We've seen everybody do it. But if you can be that driver that just does it less than your competition, your tires will be in better condition. You'll build less air pressure, which will give you more grip, and most essentially build less heat in those tires, which is the biggest thing when it comes to here on iRacing. That tire temperature is a huge factor.
As the drivers continue to race on, looking through the field, there's a couple of drivers just starting to add on to the damage total on their vehicles. As some of our front runners, you got Cedric Hunter. He's looking pristine, but the two drivers in front and behind made contact 2 laps ago. Ollie Fonseca dealing with some rear end damage, as Mark Whitley's got a little bit of front end damage that he's going to have to work with throughout the rest of the night. And getting any type of damage, you look through the rest of the field, it's starting to look like a little bit of a demolition derby with some of the damage the drivers are starting to pick up, because when they get out of shape, they're figuring out they're running into other drivers at that point.
Yeah, they are. It definitely looks almost like some short track racing out here with how much damage we've already seen and how many, beatings that these drivers have taken. I mean, there's multiple drivers, and a lot of times it's really not even they're probably meaning to do it. It's a mistake in front of you. You can't really react. So it's tough to not hit somebody when that case happens. And I'm also seeing there's a lot of people going off track and knocking a lot of debris on the racetrack. And when you get that dust and all those marbles and rocks onto the racetrack on the racing surface, it can make it very, very tough for some of those drivers who go through it. So they'll be looking to navigate their way through that. As Danny Cochran is trying to make his way back from his spin, he'll make the pass here down into 1 on John Forbes. That should move him up to the 6th position, as he'll be looking to run down Ollie Fonseca. But Forbes thought about it for a moment, but they'll also have Christopher Norris right there in tow behind him.
And make any slight mistakes. But to touch on more about this damage that drivers are starting to pick up, something we didn't touch on, mainly because it's not something that other leagues traditionally bring up when you come to road courses. That's the incident limit. There is a limit on the amount of incident points you can get that's going off course. It's making contact with other drivers. These drivers do have a limit that you can hit, which will give you a black flag penalty, and as well a limit that you can hit that will just disqualify you from the race. So drivers got to be careful, and I think that Jonathan Smith might have been one of those drivers that went over that limit as a 31 goes off track for a second there.
Yeah, and you can add 1 more to his total, and he's already spun, so he got a lost control earlier, which is usually 2 points there given to your incident limit. And yeah, that incident limit is going to be worrying a lot of drivers here, because already 7 laps, I'm sure a lot of them have piled up a good portion. Is North into Forbes, and it's all stacking up.
Braking goes off.
Braking goes off. Yeah, I mean, it's just everywhere here tonight. These drivers cannot find any safe spot on this racetrack, and he's trying to get that thing going, and you can just see no grip in the dirt and in that grass.
Oh no, in front, in 4th place, Cedric Hunter, hard contact through the S's.
And that is going to end his night. You can see it there. That machine is smoking. That is engine damage. You do not have a fast repair here at the ISRC Race Car Graveyard Truck Series. And man, that is a huge, huge moment for him, because this could be like his playoff, picture going away here. This could really set him up where he has to go into National Fairgrounds and almost win.
And Cedric Hunter was a part of that group of drivers. I kind of had in my mind of if they were going to be taken out of the playoffs, something tragic like this was going to happen to them. And the 13 being one of the first of our playoff drivers to have this kind of a catastrophic incident happen. This is a worst case scenario for the 13, who's going to need other drivers to have some major failures happen for themselves. Luckily for this 13 machine, that of Eric Stamp and others are still out there, but Cedric Hunter continues to stay out on track, and the reasoning why, he's hoping he can at least get to the stage, because he is currently in 10th place, but here comes Dakota, who's about to take that position, and now John Forbes in 7th place goes off course.
Oh, it's just everywhere on this track. You're never safe, like I said before, and Forbes now getting back up to speed. And yeah, interesting call there from Cedric Hunter. I believe also with the way this is working out, that pit road is closed, so technically he would take a penalty if he would have hit pit road there. So I think he's just going to try to maybe limp that truck to the inch here. But that's a tough call also because he does have the required damage flag. And when you have those required damage flags, you can get a black flag for staying out there too many laps. He's going to be flirting with that for sure. And this could end up being disastrous for him. But old Cody Reed, I mean, just drifting through the corner. And what a great shot there because, man, he was 90 degrees to turn to the right in a left-hand corner.
Yeah, you are wheeling every single corner that you can. And Cody Reed with a great one. And this 25 wanting some redemption after the way that his Watkins Glen race kind of fell over and attacked a lot of other drivers. This 25, 7th place, needing all the bonus points possible for himself, especially with the unknown of how Nashville Fairgrounds is going to be next week, as drivers are being notified that pit road is getting closed for themselves.
That it is, and that's an interesting call. Then Cedric Hunter now not making that call to come down that last time, but I think, like you said, Sammy's trying to make it to the stage, so we'll see if the 13 can end up making that engine last, because that's the other thing he's got to worry about. But man, the 00, Ethan Smith, everything's got a little bit more brighter for him as he's now moved into 9th. He's also got his teammate right there, John Forbes, who's made plenty of mistakes in front of him. If he can go up here and get a few more stage points, this will really help Ethan Smith here in this first stage.
It would be amazing recovery, just like I would say amazing recovery that we've seen from the 31 of Danny Cochran. I mean, he spun out, was up in 3rd place, fell all the way back to that of 11th, now up to 5th. We're seeing a lot of drivers that had those early mistakes coming back, and that's exactly what you got to do if you're going to find yourself battling for a championship. As another driver going to be added to the mistakes being made, that's Logan Brakey in the 29, getting some rear end damage after having a spill at Canada Corner.
Yeah, it's just a very treacherous night here for these drivers. They're trying to figure it out. They're trying to make the most of it. And Fonseca on pit road there in the 24, and I believe that's an interesting call because I believe, like you said, the pit road should have been closed, so he's going to be looking to take a penalty.
They were waiting for 10th place to cross the line, which was Dakota Moniz, so technically Ollie was good to come in. He was the last driver to come into pit road. That's a great strategy call for that of the 24. The main reason why is because this field doesn't do a traditional road course coming to pit stops with a full course yellow. The field is forced to regroup with one another before they can come into pit road. So this 24 should be taking the lead at our stage break once it's done.
That is very good call by him then. That is very staying on top of things right there for the 24 Fonseca. Now not in the fight for the playoffs, but he is in the fight here for a great finish tonight. And I think that is what the 24 is looking at. He gained a lot of track position from mistakes from drivers. Now he's trying to capitalize with a little bit of strategy here, but I tell you what, it's going to be tough to beat this guy unless he has some type of major damage or major incident here late in the race, which, hey, you can't say anybody is safe from it because of what we've seen here tonight, but this guy is on a different level here tonight. It just shows the preparation he's put in has really helped him. He's almost out to 8 seconds over Trenton Jump here, and it's really seemed like his times, he's only running 2:17s here, really, so he's only fell off about 2.5 seconds, so really great job from this Ford machine.
I mean, I wasn't even going to say based off tonight. I was going to say based off Watkins Glen. I mean, we saw Trenton Jump dominating that race as we're coming up to the white flag of our stage break. Again, at conclusion of lap 10, once 10th place comes across the line, that's when the yellow will be thrown. But we think back to Watkins Glen, it was the 46 dominating that race. It was Cody Reed that went with the same strategy that we just saw Ollie Fonseca go for, that placed a different driver up front that wasn't dominating the race. They had a simple mistake coming through turn 1 that wiped out the dominant driver. So we could easily see that same scenario happen, especially in the fact that we don't know how old tires are going to react on these restarts.
That's right, Sam. You are never safe on a restart at a road course too, because things can get very, very wild. And when people get pushed into positions that they, that they haven't been used to maybe before at a road course, it can cause issues. And we'll see how he can, look to rebound from this. But he's definitely had great pace here all night, and can confirm, I believe, that Cedric Hunter is out of this race also as he's hit pit road and has pulled his car behind the wall for tonight, because I believe that is terminal damage on that engine. And pretty much going to put him in a must-win scenario pretty much going into Nashville next week.
That is a tough pill to swallow for a driver that came into this season, only goal in mind was go for a championship, and now needs to make a hero move going into Nashville Fairgrounds, which I don't think any of us can make a call at this point on who's going to get a win there next week, as Nick Crawford going through that of the carousel looking so strong. continues to grow, which I got to say, I honestly thought Nick Crawford, Trenton Jump, they were going to keep side by side for the majority of this stage. But Crawford, obviously, that practice, the experience, it is certainly mounting up to this lead.
That it really has. It's really played into his hands. And look right here. Also, Danny Cochran, I mean, he had that major moment as he spun in that corner before already tonight. He saves it this time and gets through there, but he's got Christopher Norris directly ahead of him. This will be for that 4th position here in the stage, and those could be critical points that go on to help you next week in Nashville. And he's looking to size Christopher Norris up, but we'll have to see how it plays out, as this is going to be an interesting finish here with our 10th place driver about 48 to 50 seconds behind our leader. It's going to be a long ending to this stage.
And as they continue to cross the line, the Forge going up the hill now to finish out this lap. We're waiting on when we're going to be seeing 10th place, which is currently right now Noah Steele. And Noah Steele needing these bonus points. This 8 did not feel confident coming into this race. And to get a top 10, that is the best case scenario for a driver that's trying to make sure he's at least in striking distance going into next week.
Yeah, this is huge for Noah Steele, man. This is exactly what he needs as a driver here to help that momentum. You know, not the greatest road course racer. He probably came in here tonight saying, man, this is going to be a tough one here for me and probably going to put me in a pretty big hole compared to the other drivers. But the key to road courses is always do not make the mistakes, and you can keep it on track and you'll be in a good position. And that is what Noah Steele's done. He's got damage, but he's kept it on track here, and he's going to come home here, it looks like, in 10th for this stage.
So you saw the 19 go off track. That was the only driver that could steal away that 10th place position. It won't happen as Noah Steele comes across the line. That is going to be our stage break for tonight's run, as the drivers now get to collect themselves up. Whew. I mean, Zach, 11 laps in. Nick Crawford is the downright favorite to watch out for, but this is when things start to change up with the way that Ollie Fonseca decided to come into pit road.
Oh, yes, this is where the nerves kick in. You know, drivers know what just happened through that first little portion of the run, and they know a mistake is around any corner. If you lose track position here, get placed behind a driver that makes that mistake, it's very easy to get damaged like we've seen from a few drivers. So with this stage coming to an end, these drivers are going to have plenty of nerves, plenty of time to think here also as they pace around this 4-mile track here before they come back to get to pit road.
Well, as we are going to be under caution, drivers trying to get closed up with everyone else, we're going to step aside as our top 10 going to be from the stage break. Nick Crawford, Trenton Jump, Mark Whitley going to be our top 3, with Christopher Norris getting 4th, 5th goes to Dean Cochran, 6th goes to Cody Reed, John Forbes going to take 7th, 8th is going to be Ethan Smith, Dakota Moniz takes 9th, 10th goes to Noah Steele. As tonight, you are watching the ISRC Race Car Graveyard Truck Series on Freaky Fast Broadcasting. We'll be right back to take you to the end.
grip, no rear grip whatsoever. I'm sideways. Sideways everywhere. Come on, man. Do what you can. The vibration in this car is the worst vibration that I've ever had, and the shifter's broken again.
He's following, they're wrecking, they're splitting, and it's a complete mayhem.
We have a wreck at the front. 19 goes down into the 7. Takes out the 00.
They're 5 wide behind for fifth. Oh my, the 5 wide here, this ain't gonna work, is it? They're already wrecking into turn 1, and now coming through that of turn 2. This is it, the Daytona. Oh no, they're wrecking contact. Sets gets into the wall. Gonna be scattering on the outside. Drivers on the apron. Drivers coming out of nowhere. Edison on the outside trying to get the win. And it's William Edison stealing it at the line.
The wall. The 18 trying to block. 77 to get into the 18. That leaves 3 of TJ Roberts. 17 to Gavin Rogers. 3 of TJ Roberts is gonna steal the win here.
What second fiddle so many times last season. Christopher Wade wins the season 5 Daytona 200. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to playoff racing action for the ISRC Race Car Graveyard Truck Series. Stages are done. It's about racing it to the end, and we've got some drivers that are mixed up all over the place. Ollie Fonseca deciding to pit under green during stage 1. He's on the old tires. He's going to be starting on the inside, on that right side, ready to get rolling. As also dropping all the way back to 14th, Trent Jump. How will he go? How will this restart go? Well, let's find out as we're green for that of the Lit Sports Group 140.
And just like that, Nick Crawford gets a good restart on that outside line, but Fonseca got in the push from Christopher Norris, was actually able to hold station pretty well, but he's going to back up, and now Danny Cochran going to look to the outside here to go around for the move, and now even Christopher Norris looking for that position as Nick Crawford is loving what he's seeing because Trenton Jump, his earlier competition in this race, had to restart in 14th with damaged repairs, and old Fonseca back to the inside there in 3.
As all these drivers we saw on fresh rubber that first lap looked tame with a little bit of treachery, but it's that second lap onwards that you've got to be worrying about. And for Trent Jump, that's only back in 13th place. He's got a complete hill to climb if he wants to be moving forward. Same for that of Mark Whitley that are both back trapped in 12th and 13th place.
Oh, we had a car off in the grass here heading down to this corner, turn 5, and Trenton Jump there. He goes wide along with his teammate of Eric Stamp. So right there, the Color Teal Graphics guys going off track here, and that was a tough break for them as Nick Crawford looks to do what he did in the first run and just disappear from this field. But Danny Cochran, we saw his mistake early in the race to spinning it around. Now back up in second. This is looking good for this 31 if he can pull this position off.
Hoping for his best recovery yet as drivers further on back still having some issues for themselves. Cody Reed losing a couple of spots after going wide on that of the exit of turn 6, but able to actually hold position for 7th. Again, at this point, there's no more stage racing. It's about taking it to the end. And Zach, this is when things get a lot more interesting because you touched on it earlier. Drivers now have to worry about fuel.
That they do. It's looking like you can only make it around 18 laps here tonight on fuel, and with us going green there at the start of lap 14 there, you're looking at about a 21 lap race here down to the end. So these drivers are going to need about at least another 3 to 4 laps of fuel. I don't think anybody could save that much here because it's 4 miles in distance. If it was a little bit shorter racetrack, maybe, but that's not going to be possible. So I think you'll most likely see pit stops start to happen around lap 25, where these drivers will come in about halfway of this run and look to go about 10 laps to the end of this race. Pretty much similar to what that first stage was.
As we drop back to Ethan Smith, 6th position, he is hoping for a solid run after his win and that of the last round at that of Rockingham, a race that was shrouded under controversy between himself and his teammate John Forbes, as Forbes penalized for intentionally causing a wreck and spinning. At 11, he's having a good run. Cody Reed, Ethan Smith, all the Blackjack racers are right on top of one another.
That they are right here in this next stage, and they really like that stage help them really because it got them right back up here in position. And Smith, I mean, with the way this race started tonight, he was outside of the top 10 at some points. Now, well inside the top 10, almost fighting for a top 5 right behind his teammate John Forbes. So this is really set up well here for Ethan Smith heading into Nashville Fairgrounds next week if he can continue to hold these positions. I mean, we got 20 laps to go here. We've already seen how treacherous this track has been, and there's Logan Breakey off once again, finding the kitty litter, as it's been a tough night for that 29 machine as he's found his way off the track a few times along with the rest of his competition out here tonight. But it's just one of those things. You got 20 laps here, and you got to be picture perfect here and make the least amount of mistakes if you want to get that good finish.
As we came into tonight, 12 drivers racing still in the playoffs. If you've missed it already, we've had a couple of drivers already having race-ending incidents happen. Isaac Shelley having too many wrecks in Carnage, where he was our first official DNF. Cedric Hunter blew his engine after hard contact getting ready to go into Canada Corner. The 13 was one of our first playoff drivers out of this race. Jonathan Smith in 18th position. He also is dealing with catastrophic damage for the 72, as everyone else dealing with damage here or there. Some decided to spend a little bit of extra time with that track position at that of this past restart, while others decided to go with the track position. And for those that decided to just get minimal repairs or just get fresh rubber and get back out there, they're doing a great job up front.
Yeah, personally, I don't think damage really here. It's only more cars.
That's
all
Cody
in the
Reed.
background. That's Cody Reed. Oh no, that is not what the 25 wants. And look, he is just dirt tracking and trying to get back out there, man. That is not what the 25 needs here. As he had a good first stage. Now he's going to start to get back up to speed, and with no stage break here coming up now for the rest of this race, he's going to have to gain that time back the good old-fashioned way. And man, that has really unfortunately set him back a bunch as Mark Whitley and Trenton Jump look to be climbing their way through the field. They're already back up to 7th and 8th here already, and looking to be doing a good job as they had pretty good pace there in that first stage. Definitely Trenton Jump, I think, will be looking to move past a lot of these guys, but Mark Whitley, he was sliding around a lot. He's going to have to make sure not to have mistakes like that as Cody Reed, we saw, just got bit by one.
But I will say, for Mark Whitley and Trenton Jump, they're kind of in a back foot where they need to make these passes as soon as possible on all these drivers, because once we got into that later run, 5-6 laps into a stint, those tires started to equal out with the rest of the field, and they really weren't being some of those top dogs. They were racing just as fast as drivers that were in 4th and 5th position. So they need to make these passes fast, quick, and make sure they're up in the top 3 as soon as possible. But that's asking for a lot, because if you're pushing that aggressively, that means mistakes are right around the corner.
That they are, and man, we've seen, I mean, countless ones here tonight already, and I think those are going to pile up even more and more as Trenton Jump starts to close in a little bit here on this group. You see Mark Whitley, he's on the back bumper of Ethan Smith here going through this carousel, and this has been one of the most treacherous corners of all night as these drivers have been trying to keep the rear ends underneath them. And looking at Mark Whitley off in the grass, having to lose that ground that he gained on Ethan Smith here as they head to the kink. And this corner right here, very dangerous, especially because we've seen Cedric Hunter. That was where he wrecked out of this race, just catching the grass just that little bit. And it can be such an easy ride, as you can see how narrow this track is. There's walls, and there's a retaining barrier and a concrete wall on the inside. So pretty much there's danger at all points there if you have a mistake in the kink.
Yeah, ever since you go past the kink, through that of Kendall Bottoms, into Canada Corner, probably the section that a lot of drivers are nervous when they're racing around another driver, and even when you're by yourself, as riding on board with Mark Whitley, he's going to be going to the inside. You'll see that 0-0 to the outer groove, and getting bigger in the mirror of Mark Whitley. It's that Trent Jump, who's just keeping with the steady pace, hitting his own lines, and now going to be trying to make the pass on the 0-0 as they're heading down into turn number 1. It will make the pass before even getting to turn 1.
Yeah, did a good job there, getting a great run out of that final corner there of turn 14 here, and heading down the 1, makes the clean pass. And now they're going to try to focus their sights on John Forbes next of the Blackjack Racing crew, and he's they've done a good job so far of making up ground, but again, it's going to get tougher and tougher, like you said, Sam, as those tires burn off, and that advantage that they've had throughout the race slowly disappears. And Whitley there, again, another small mistake, as now Trent Jump maybe might be within reaching distance here, heading down to turn 5 to see if he can make some type of lunge here, as he's going to look right here to the inside, but going to slide back up into that groove. And a lot of drivers do that. You try to get to the inside of that, you know, right there before turn 5, because it's almost a little bit of a bend in the road there right before the braking zone. If you have any bit of wheel in that tire, you will block up those tires. And right there, look, they go quickly around John Forbes, who makes the smart decision to just let both of them go quickly by, as he knows he's racing his own race.
I mean, it's a quick, knowledgeable state of what you need to do, as Nick Crawford, you see it on our ticket board, dominating this race, and he has disappeared. He has not come back. The 4 saw Cody Reed have the same issue during that of pacing, but Nick Crawford may not be coming back this go around.
Yeah, we still don't see him back there on the ticker, and he has been gone for a very long time, and his quality on his connection keeps continuing to drop, and usually that is a bad sign. It usually shows that a disconnect is near, and if that was to happen to the 4, that would be such a devastating blow to his night, as he's been so dominant. But this opens the door wide open for any of these other drivers that come through and get the victory, as right now Danny Cochran, he is loving the sight there as he's going to move to the lead, but still yet to get a message yet to see if Nick Crawford is disconnected. We'll see if he can come back, but with it missing a whole lap, he might even go a lap down.
Yeah, he's about to go a lap down. With the fact that he's still not connected in, that is too long. He will not be returning. We're just waiting for him to finally be officially booted out, so that maybe he can come back and try to salvage at least something. But right now, at the same time that Nick Crawford gets disconnected, Eric Stamp comes into pit road and calls it a night for himself. That is now officially 3 playoff drivers that will not be finishing tonight. Started with Cedric Hunter, Eric Stamp's the newest, and now Nick Crawford with his internet issues.
This is just a huge blow here to the playoff drivers, and man, this is going to shake everything up. And there it is. Nick Crawford has dropped due to connection, due to packet loss, and that is a heartbreaker for the 4 machine, who had such a good race going. No real huge mistakes, few slides here and there. This has opened up the door for Danny Cochran right now and the rest of the drivers. I mean, Trenton Jump, Mark Whitley, they got to be thinking now this is possibly their chance to get back in this race. But if you're Danny Cochran, you made that big mistake here heading down here to turn 6 early in this race. Now you have to shake that off, hit your best marks for the rest of this race, and you could possibly lock yourself in to that next round.
I mean, what a complete mind switch of your settings you have to go into now. I mean, Danny Cochran went into, I'll just take whatever position I can get, to now, oh, I'm the leader. I've got drivers that are going to try to come at me. I can lock myself into the round of 8 by tonight's race. And now you've got Christopher Norris that also is trying to maximize his points. Ali Fonseca being the buffer. But if we look at the lap times, the 77, the 46 are running almost a full second faster than Danny Cochran. And they're trying to make this push as well. When we know these drivers come to pit road, those fresh tires, the advantage goes to the 77 and the 46.
That it really does. This is going to get a little bit interesting here now with all of these drivers seeing what is played out for that Ford machine. They know this door has been kicked wide open after his dominant performance, and it's going to be anybody's game here, as you got really the top 5 all on one straightaway with Danny Cochran about 4 seconds ahead of him. So this is going to open up that door. And man, even Christopher Norris in second, I mean, what a night for him here. He probably didn't want to see that with his teammate disconnecting there, but this even, you know, makes his position so much better off here heading into the playoffs.
And now the big question has to be looming of how do you want to change up your strategies from aiming for Nick Crawford to now Danny Cochran's your aiming point, and how does that Christopher Norris want to change his racing style, because he's being caught now by that in the 77 and the 46 this past lap. Both of those drivers still able to run a 2-minute and 16 lap time, while the top 3 all ran 2-minute and 17-second lap times. And for the second, third, fourth, fifth, they are all running faster than our leader.
Yeah, I gotta think Danny Cochran has probably noticed the gap he has here, and is probably thinking, I don't need to do too much. You don't want to give up, you know, major amounts of time, but with how these tires fall off, he knows this is going to be one of the longer runs of all night right here. He's probably going to try to manage this a little bit and try not to make any type of mistake. It's so tough. Once you get out front, I mean, it's one thing to be chasing someone and trying to run them down, but when you're in front of this group and you know it's just a simple mistake that kind of separates you from everybody, it is very tough not to make that mistake. So you can sometimes actually back it down just a little too much, and it can really hurt your chances. But you can see this group is getting more stacked up. Norris made a little mistake. Fonseca here sliding back into the clutches of Whitley, and now Trenton Jump, as these top 5 drivers are closing in.
Second, back to 5th, all in the picture here, all within a second of one another, and just one little mistake can be costly for not just one, but maybe even a multitude of drivers, as another driver can call it a night. That of Nolan Hicks is no longer going to be racing. And for Nolan Hicks, he had to take a tow, which was on the same lap as that of Nick Crawford and Eric Stamp. And because he had to take a tow and then left, he actually lost 2 positions, bumping up Nick Crawford and Eric Stamp. Incredible point stands on how that's going to change up going into next week, as the battling between 2nd to 5th still rages on. And for Trenton Jump, he hasn't been able to get by the 77, but he certainly has been utilizing Mark Whitley as his spear to continue to cut through this field, and they're about to go after this 24 down.
Yeah, they're going after him. They know they have to get by this 24. They see the gap opening up in front of them with Christopher Norris, and they're looking to the outside here, heading down to 14. That's not going to be an easy place to make the pass, but he's going to do a little bit of a crossover here, opening up that corner. Not a good enough run for the 77. He's going to be under threat now from this 46 machine of Trenton Jump, and this is going to get very spicy heading down into 1.
Ali Fonseca might have had to take off his playoff banner from the 24 after 2 weeks ago when the tiebreaker wasn't able to move on, but now being the block, being the defensive moves, going high, low, everywhere you can go, and now in the defensive high line, trying to get the better exit at turn number 1, still side by side with Mark Whitley. That's allowing Norris to pull away, but now Trenton Jump, he's got to decide who does he want to align with to help out. Is there going to be side by side to turn 3? Fonseca's off the track.
And just like that, Fonseca gives up 2 spots in 1 corner, and that is tough break for him, as he's going to lose a lot of time even going in the grass there. But these 2 drivers here, are the drivers on a mission right now, Mark Whitley and Trenton Jump, and they know, I think they know that they might be the ones racing for the win here when it comes down to it, so they don't want to, you know, they're going to race each other really as hard as they possibly can because they know they're closing in on that leader of the 31.
And now, after that hard racing with Ollie Fonseca, that costed them about a half a second, if not more, on Danny Cochran, and they've got to be picture perfect. Yes, it's 15 laps to go, but you still got to be perfect on a pit stop. And did you overutilize these tires trying to carve your way through the field? I mean, Mark Whitley, Trenton Jump, they had to start deep in the field on that restart after getting damage repair. Now they're going to find themselves third, fourth, great recoveries. But now this is when the hard part really starts to kick in, as Christopher Norris is just completely losing touch to the leader on his pace, as he's now going to be 4.5 seconds off.
Yeah, he's lost a lot in this last lap. I mean, almost a full second to Danny Cochran. And right now, Mark Whitley and Trenton Jump both closing into this 38 machine. And whew, you can see how much the 77 and the 46 are pushing it. They're trying everything here in their power to gain on these drivers up ahead of them. And they're doing a great job, but they got to make sure they don't make that big mistake that takes them out of contention of running that number 31 machine down. So we'll see, did Danny Cochran save anything here in that truck? Or did he, you know, maybe use even a little bit too much up there trying to run Nick Crawford down in the beginning? So we'll see as they come to 14 laps to go. I expect pit stops here to start happening, you know, possibly even now. I mean, drivers could technically make it if they pit here, but I think they're going to want to stretch it a little bit longer due to the tire wear. So I think around 10 to go is going to be that money stop for these drivers.
I think the only driver that I would imagine is going to try and undercut a pit stop would be that of Noah Steele. If he wants to try something ridiculous, as I say that though, Ollie Fonseca in the 24. He had to pit earlier than everyone else. Again, he pitted under green. He's on a completely different strategy than everyone else. He'll be our first driver to hit pit road.
Yeah, Ollie's been on that offensive all night here with this strategy, and I like the calls from the 24. I mean, why not? He just had a huge mistake that last lap that lost him a lot of time, giving up the 2 positions to Whitley and Trenton Jump. So I think he notices that, you know, maybe this is the time to come down, get the tires while they can here, and not lose too much time from that mistake and gain on all these drivers on the older tires. So we'll see how it works out. Hopefully for him, the tires even out well, but that's going to be the case he's going to have to figure out. But look at this, even Ethan Smith has got past John Forbes here for 5th. So big day for the points leader coming in here tonight in that 0-0. Now he is going to be losing that lead most likely to Mark Whitley, if Whitley in 3rd and getting better stage points. But this is exactly what I think Ethan Smith wanted to do, is limit the mistakes and come out of here with a solid finish.
And a lot of drivers not sure on what they're going to get themselves into going into next week, as Nashville Fairgrounds short track racing, there's a short track at each round that these drivers go to. That's going to be something they've got to worry about. Is we're actually going to bump over to 2nd place, because Christopher Norris tried his darndest to hold on, but not for very long, as Mark Whitley makes the pass, trying to make the crossover move, was the 38, and almost threw away that positioning with that move.
Yeah, that was very, very close action between those two. Almost clipping the back bumper of that 77, and that could have been detrimental for the two of them. But right here, Mark Whitley done a good job of getting around Christopher Norris. And the driver who really hasn't stayed latched on was Trenton Jump. It seems like his truck is falling away from here as this run goes on, how hard they had to push through the field. But Mark Whitley seems to be getting better as the race goes on, but those big slides like that will not help that 77 machine. We'll see in these final 14 laps, can he make up about a 4.5 second deficit, and can Danny Cochran be perfect here and not make the mistakes that could come back to let these 77 close in?
The issue is after Canada corner, Danny Cochran did not get a good turn there at turn 12, and he actually just gave up a full second from turn 12 to the start-finish line. The 31's got to be careful, because the Jaws sound is already ramping up. Mark Whitley is starting to close in.
Yeah, this is definitely an interesting sight to see, but look at that, the major mistake from the 77. All that time he gained could have been possibly a little bit lost there, but personally, the ticker, I mean, he didn't lose too much, even with that big slide there. I mean, so we'll see how much he can gain on this full lap here, but I mean, he was almost a 1.5 seconds quicker than Danny Cochran up front here, who is leading. This is going to be a wild one all the way down to the end. I think Cochran's going to have some pressure here at some point from that 77. It's just going to be the question of when and if he can hold back that storm, because, man, it is definitely getting closed down each and every lap, and you can see it. I mean, look at the ticker. It's just continuously clicking down as the 77 closes in.
And we also are, again, we're inside of the zone where Danny Cochran, if he really wanted to, he could wait until Mark Whitley gets to his back bumper and then pull off into pit road. Or even if he just gets past, come into pit road, make that decision. And all the game plan is in the hands of the 31 on what he wants to do. Because if Mark Whitley comes into pit road now or the next lap, yes, that will be a great advantage, but then the 31 can lose all that time, come into pit road that next lap, and still be either on the back bumper or ahead of the 77. It is all in the hands of Danny Cochran at this point. But behind them, Christopher Norris, major issues for the 38, who almost found himself doing the same exact thing that Cedric Hunter just did that at the start of the race.
Yeah, that was so close for him, but now he's going to Trenton Jump here heading down to Canada corner here. Can Trenton Jump be close enough to make this 38 outbreak himself? But no, the good job by Norris there to hit his marks and actually pull a nice little gap there as Trenton Jump lost the nose there on the entry of that corner. So almost a big mistake, but now fighting here with this 46. You can't, I know he wants to hold back this 46 and hold on to this position. But if you're Christopher Norris, you got to understand this is a good day here for yourself. You have a huge gap back to Ethan Smith in 5th. No major mistakes here, and you got to come home with a top 4 finish.
Yeah, I mean, but at the same time, if Trent Jump's not really poking his nose trying to go for the pass, I mean, Norris is in the clear to battle as hard as he wants. I think that's where things are getting a little bit more difficult for Norris in those minds of how does he truly want to attack as more front runners hitting pit road. Ethan Smith, he now hits pit road for himself. Other back markers that have come to pit road, Ollie Fonseca, one of the drivers that started off, he's trying his best to move forward and gain as many positions and gain as much time as possible with his early cut. Same for that of Cody Reed and Al Rochelle. Going to be the 3 drivers that have already hit pit road. Noah Steele joining in with that of Ethan Smith pitting on this lap.
Yeah, a lot of drivers here starting to hit pit road with 12 to go. Not kind of surprised by that here. They're going a little bit more aggressive than maybe some of the others up front. We'll see when our leader Danny Cochran finally elects to come down. But if you're looking for a button box that can let your competition out there know that you're going to be hitting pit road, then you need to go check out one of our sponsors here. And that, folks, is the Admin Box. One of the best button boxes out there. Not only does it give you like the normal driver functions of saying, pitting in, pitting out, that normal button boxes out there do for sim racing or, pre-programmed commands are. This also has controls that make you able to, be a race control, throw black flags, give the yellow flag out there. So it's really a great tool there for admins all out there for racing. And not only that, but also drivers. So make sure you head on over to adminbox.com and use the discount code FFB/BOXX. You can get yourself a discounted purchase as pit road begins to get more and more busy.
And also, if you'd like to go get yourself some great equipment that can assist you road course racing, there's not a lot of full course yellows that come out, but there can be sector cautions that come out. And to give you that clear indication on if there's a yellow flag utilized in front of you, go to iRacingIFlag.com and go get yourself patented iFlag virtual flag system today, or even look into their digital pit board that gives plenty of other great information. Remember, if you're going to be purchasing your iRacing iFlag equipment, use our discount code FreakyFast2022 today, as we have got ourselves 12 laps to go, about to make it 11. Well, if you want to have some of the best merch out there as the fall season is coming around, as these laps are coming down, it is time to go get yourself some great Freaky Fast Broadcasting merch, hoodies, t-shirts, and more to be grabbed as drivers coming into pit road.
Yeah, more and more, and it looks this Mark Whitley going to go aggressive with the strategy. I love this call here from the 77. He needs to gain on that 31 of Danny Cochran, and really the last couple laps here, really ever since they got into that 217 bracket, they kind of been back and forth between that, a 217 or a 218. So him and Trenton Jump, they elect to do similar strategies here. This is going to put them on a little bit of a back foot when it comes to tire wear and tire advantage. But with the speed they've shown, they might be able to jump that 31 machine out front, and that is where the race will begin. So we'll see, can the rest of the drivers come to pit road here and make stuff happen as Christopher Norris along with Danny Cochran stay out this time.
And now Christopher Norris in a troublesome spot. Update on the 38. After seeing his competitors coming to pit road, turn 3, the 38 went off track, which now puts Cody Reed as well as that of Ethan Smith and John Forbes. They'll be closing in on this 38, and potentially Ollie Fonseca in a spot to try to overpass that of Christopher Norris.
Yeah, like I said, he had about a 10-second gap at one point, but that mistake there is going to take most of that gap away. And with those drivers on new tires, they're also going to be gaining on him here. So I don't think this 38 can wait too long. I think this next time by is going to be the key pit stop for him. We'll see if he makes that decision to come down here. And I believe you'll also be seeing our leader, Danny Cocker, most likely do the same, because you can't wait too long here. The way the tires are looking, they do start to even out just a tiny bit there at the end of the runs. So if you're one of those drivers that you think you can gain right now, it is definitely time to hit pit road. And the mistakes here cannot be happening on your in lap.
It really cannot, as Danny Cochran getting set up, prepared. He's coming around the last corner as majority of the field have already made their stop. Ollie Fonseca tried his best to undercut and try to steal positions from drivers in front of him. Well, he got in front of Trent Jump, was not able to get by Mark Whitley, as coming into pit road is our leader of Danny Cochran. He saw the indication on what drivers were coming in, and now he'll come into pit road. And Christopher Norris, a real sketchy final bend, but he'll now make his indication into pit road, as that is going to be everyone besides Tyler Dangler that still, I mean, it's going to be done with their stops and can take us to the end.
Yeah, this is going to be really interesting to see where this 77 comes out compared to him, because Danny Cochran there with actually a very good in lap, a 2:28.38, compared to Mark Whitley. He was a 2:29.10. So he gained time on him. I mean, almost a full second over Danny Cochran, or Danny had over Whitley, but these new tires are going to help this 77. Here he comes up the hill here to cross the line, and Danny Cochran should be finishing his service here at any moment as he starts to pull off a pit lane. It's going to be somewhat closer, but I think this 31 is going to hold him back.
It is going to be a gain, but not enough. Only that of a second advantage was the 77 closing in on the gap, and that was not what Mark Whitley wanted to see. He was hoping that he at least could be ahead of the 31, and now he's going to be on a lap older set of tires and hope that he can somehow find out how to get faster than Danny Cochran.
Yeah, for these first few corners, his tires are going to be up to temp, so they're going to be a little bit quicker than the 31, so he could gain a little bit more, but he probably wanted to see more of a gain there over that 31 to Danny Cochran. And again, like I said, Danny had just an amazing in-lap, and that is the key here at road courses. If you have a great lap coming into pit road and better than your competitions that undercuts you, you're able to keep that gap, somewhat reasonable. So very good job out of 31, and he's executing well after that major mistake early in this race. He's really been on fire ever since he's got that lead with Nick Crawford's unfortunate mishap with the internet.
And if you are just joining us right now, 10 laps to go here for that of the lids, of the Park Group Sports Group 140 here tonight for that the ISRC Race Car Graveyard Truck Series. This is the start of the round at 12, but this round starts and ends pretty quick, as next week will be the end of the round. We'll go from 12 drivers in the playoffs down just 8 that will continue on. Here tonight, it has been a wild, eventful night as we had our stage, which was the first 10 laps. We saw a handful of drivers seeing an end to their run. Cedric Hunter, the biggest of notes, was the driver that got engine damage just in the first 6 laps of the race, was not able to continue running. He will finish back in 17th position. Then, since the stage break, we've seen other drivers have their woes. Nick Crawford, who dominated stage 1, was dominating through the beginning of stage 2, then had internet issues that has bounced the 4 out. He is currently 14th place, still has not registered back into this race. Eric Stamp, another playoff driver, finding himself all the way down in 16th position. Tough night for that of the 53.
Yeah, very tough night, especially for the 53 and the 13. Those two not getting stage points is going to come back to bite them a lot. Nick Crawford, he can at least have some bit of satisfaction of getting the 10 bonus points, as you see Trent Jump making that pass on Fonseca, who did undercut them, and he does now move up the 3rd. But back to what I was saying there, it's going to be tough for those drivers who didn't get the stage points, to Cedric Hunter and Eric Stamp. But Nick Crawford with the 10 bonus points there, he's only now actually with Nolan Hicks actually reconnecting, he's lost another spot, so that's actually going to hurt him a little bit. But only 2 positions now behind Kyle Rochelle and Noah Steele. I mean, that is actually not too bad of a position to be in, with them not with those drivers not getting too many stage points. So with Kyle Rochelle none and Noah getting that 1 bonus point, so Nick Crawford should still have enough gap heading into the Nashville Fairgrounds to be above that cut line. But the question is, you know, the National Fairgrounds, that place, you can never be certain of what's going to happen there with how tough that racetrack is going to be. This round is definitely the round where drivers are going to have to limit their mistakes. And here tonight at Road America, it has been mistake-full.
It really, truly has been a very mistake-full time of a night where drivers have been trying to minimize it the best that they can, but it's been tough for themselves as the way that this race has been going around, trying to do quick math. I think also Nick Crawford might have been the driver because of the amount of laps that he led. I think he's also going to get the bonus point of the most laps led for the 4, which is a massive buff for himself to have, especially with all the mistakes and having the internet issues that bounced him back to 15.
Yeah, he should hold on to that with, you know, with leading the first 17 laps of this race. So that's going to be another helpful moment for him there, as he's got those bonus points, like you said, to fall back on. But man, just a tough break still for him, because he probably thought, man, this is my chance to lock myself into that round. But he's got to go in the National Fairgrounds with a lot of questions over his head about how he can prepare for that race and get himself back in the same boat he was here tonight. But two teammates that haven't been too far from each other all night is John Force and Ethan Smith. And man, you know, they're having quiet nights here, and that is, I think, the most important thing to have if you're a Pilatus driver. Try not to be on screen too much, because that most likely means you've been on track.
Yeah, especially with how loud of noise they made in that first round of the playoffs. Staying quiet, keeping your nose down, and getting a decent finish is the way to go, especially with the way the Double Zero and the 11 have been running. Now, their teammate Cody Reed done a great job coming back to 8th place. Cody, though, I would say on the complete opposite side, he has been having quite a rough night. If you look at all the damage, the scrapes, the bruises on this 25, but somehow in 8th place, he'll take that type of a night as he continues to drift out of turn number 1.
Yeah, and those, I mean, you brought it up earlier in the race, that incident limit, you know, you can't be making mistakes like that where you get off tracks, because that can pile up. And he's flirting with disaster again there as Mark Whitley, we jump up to him. He actually just blew turn 5.
Sorry to cut you off, Zach, but he goes off track in about over that 3 seconds of a gap lead. Throw it away. It's now less than almost a second with Mark Whitley right on the back bumper.
And I tell you what, Mark Whitley blew turn 5. If he didn't do that, he would have been even closer. So that right there is a huge mistake from both of them. But man, oh man, Danny Cocker. Now, the thing is, you know, when you have that 3 to 4 second gap, you can feel like you can manage it. There's not as much pressure. But when you have a driver within a second of you, you just almost feel like they're breathing down your neck, and you just try that little bit extra, and that leads to mistakes. And it was, again, that turn 6. That has been the culprit for Danny Cocker here twice tonight. He cannot let that happen again. But Mark Whitley behind him, I mean, he is letting it loose here as he's sliding the rear tires. He's got to be careful here to keep this car, you know, well within its grip level, because he's got 1 lap older tires.
I think also what's going to be hurting Danny Cochran is that last lap. He actually put down his fastest lap of the day. And now, on the flip side, I think he might have just put down one of his slowest laps of the day, with the 77 being right on that back bumper. You gotta minimize those mistakes. We've talked about it all night long. And if we continue to see mistakes with 8 laps to go and the pressure now mounting on this 31, Trent Jump is not too far behind. He just needs a couple of mistakes by these front runners for him to close in on that gap.
Yeah, what a story that would be if these two up here, you know, make the mistakes to allow that 46 to get right back in position here late into this race. Man, this has been really a race where I think unpredictability should be the word of the night, because nobody could have predicted how this race was going to play out here. This has been one that you really could, you know, you got to keep your eyes on the track at all moments for these drivers. They're never safe, and it's been mistake after mistake, and mistakes could be what actually ends up losing this race, or maybe even winning this race. So we'll see. With 7 to go here, it's still a long time, because 4 miles here, 2 minutes and 22nd laps. It is still a long time for these drivers to have to make it to the end here. And I can tell you, the longer these races go as a road course race, you know, road course racing, the mental fatigue starts to kick in. You start to miss your marks just that little bit more. So right here is going to be that time where I think mistakes could rear their ugly head even more.
I mean, that's something also we haven't touched on at all tonight, is how long this track is. We talk about other road courses. They're about a little bit over 2 miles, almost 3 miles. This course, 4 miles in length, and it feels like a marathon all the way through. You've got to continuously keep your head down, and at the same time, you're driving with the setup that really is making you work the wheel even more than you traditionally would at other road courses.
Yeah, so that in that right there entails that you got to be even more focused, and I think that's where kind of the mental drain comes in, because 4 mile like long track, there's different corners here, each and every corner. Like there's really not one corner that's the same here, so the truck handle is probably different in each of those corners. And when it's a handful like that, one simple mistake, you step out of bounds just a little bit, stick the tire off in the grass. We've seen that plenty of times tonight. That's what bit Cedric Hunter, sticking just the left rear tire in that grass. That car over rotates, and if you're in a spot of the track where there's, you know, the closeness of the walls, like right there before Canada corner and the kink, it is a place that you definitely don't want to wreck. Luckily for Danny Cochran's sake, in turn 6, there's a wide opening there for really the track opening, so it really allows you to kind of go off track there and have that mistake. So there's unforgiving spots, and there's some forgiving spots. You just hope you make the mistake in the forgiving one.
Well, you talked about getting a wheel off. Well, the driver that did that right when he made that call, Ollie Fonseca, all the way back in battling for fourth, he has been having his issues and hoping to have at least some type of a run for himself. But drivers having major issues in front of them, going to be that of seeing Cody Reed, and also going to be that of Ethan Smith having troubles at Canada corner for the both of them.
Yeah, and we said, you know, not too many mistakes from those drivers already in this race, but this is the point of the race again where that fatigue starts to kick in, and it can be very easy to make those mistakes going down to the very end of this race. So got to stay on top of those things. And even I think Cody Reed's still having a little bit of internet issues, so he doesn't want to see what happened to Nick Crawford play out for him, because that could be very, very detrimental. But here is that battle that we were speaking of. Christopher Norris has closed in on Fonseca, who was pit earlier than Christopher Norris, so Norris does have that advantage there, but we'll see how can Fonseca hold him back here for these final 6 laps.
And looking at the times and the way that these drivers have been running, it just seems like Norris is hitting his marks. He's touching right where he wants to be, but he is catching that of the 24 at terrible spots to even try to attempt passes, which is forcing that of Christopher Norris to stay behind that of Ollie Fonseca, even though Norris technically has that tire advantage, and he's got to be making these moves quick, as we are now in 6 laps to go, and we are closing in quickly to 5 to go.
Yeah, and there's really 4 big spots to pass on this track. You got turn 1, which is always a great spot with that long straightaway coming out of turn 14. You also got turn number 5, which is probably, in my opinion, the best spot to make a pass on somebody with how hard the braking zone is there. Then also down in the turn 8 is also a great spot. Then finally the Canada corner there in turn 12. That turn really is another great one to pass here. But you got to set somebody up in that kink, and it's so hard to follow through the kink, because that is the corner that has the most aerodynamic effect on your truck. It's the highest speed corner on this racetrack, that right-hander, and it can be very tough to follow a truck when you're right tucked up behind them to be able to get that run here heading down into Canada corner. And Norris did a great job through Canada corner, but like you said, he's catching them in not great spots here heading to 13. This isn't a passing zone, but turn 14 you can set up here for this long straightaway, but he's gonna look to the inside and catch a little bit of the grass almost. Ooh, don't want to be doing that, because that grass can really hurt you.
Grass is practically like ice if you're out there on track with the way that the physics work for themselves. But here comes the draft. That's the right physics that you want to see, as you're seeing Ollie Fonseca taking all the way to the pit wall, trying to defend that inside lane. Here comes Norris to the outside, side by side down into turn number 1. This is for 4th place. Major points to be grabbed for Christopher Norris, as he's going to take it the long way around on the outside. Got to be careful as Ollie Fonseca pushes it high.
Yeah, that is great racing from both of those drivers, really using every single bit of the racetrack there to race there. Here comes the crossover, though, down out of 3, and that was a great move by the 38, but he loses a little bit of the rear end with the 24 stepping out also. Now he'll be looking for the draft once again, heading down to turn 5, in my opinion, the best spot to pass on this racetrack, but it's also very easy to do. But Fonseca, he is not playing around. He wants to hold off this position. This could get a little bit messy.
And this is something I wanted to bring up earlier, but it just have been watching so much great action. Ollie Fonseca goes off. He's going to completely throw it away. But Ollie is racing for nothing. He's not racing for the win in that position, and he has been hurting Mark Whitley. He's hurt Trenton Jump. There he was hard blocking Christopher Norris. Playoff drivers, when he is not a playoff driver, almost wrecking Christopher Norris. That has got to be frustrating if you're a playoff driver, seeing how aggressive these non-playoff drivers are racing you.
Yeah, it's tough when you're a playoff driver, but, you know, he's out there racing for his, you know, one of his better races here this season. He wants to come out here and finish it off with a bang, and you know, he's going to race him, I guess, how maybe they've raced him the rest of the season, he feels. So some drivers will carry that even if they're not into the playoffs. So it's definitely tough when you catch somebody like that, but you got to work your way around it. I got to give Christopher Norris a great, really A+ job there, because really he just made, kind of forced Fonseca into that mistake, kept making him block, get him out of his groove, make him get off the line that he normally would enter in the corners, and that can really be where the mistakes start to set up. So great job from Christopher Norris there as he moves up to 4th, but I think now he's just going to have to focus on trying to keep that car on track because it's a long way up the road to Trenton Jump. But I tell you what, Danny Cochran here in this last lap, he really opened up the gap with Mark Whitley having a mistake.
And Mark's having mistakes, but Danny Cochran, the tire advantage, that 1 lap tire advantage, we talked about him being kind of in control once these drivers were going to come into pit road. That 1 lap, Zach, yes, he might have had a couple of mistakes here or there, but Mark Whitley had to fight for every single second to about a half a second that he could gain on Danny Cochran. It really was for nothing at this point, as the tires are just too strong for the 31. But a factor we haven't talked about at all tonight, lap traffic. How will Kyle Rochelle, another playoff driver, want to race around this 31?
Yeah, it's very, very true. How will Kyle Rochelle figure out how to get this done here? Because, he doesn't want to make anything happen to Danny Cochran here. He just wants to get to the end of this race probably and survive it. But look, he's going to let him go there into turn 5. So that'll be helpful for that 31 machine as it looks to go forward. And, man, the Larry Arts Productions machine has been super, super good here in this final run. And I think you brought it up the most, Sam. Mark Whitley had to push so hard there to try to gain every bit of time he could with that undercut. And when you don't get that undercut to work, it is very tough to come back from that. So Danny Cochran really with that advantage of tires now, he's sitting in really the good position, but he can't be doing stuff like that. That was a big slide, but luckily hangs on to that machine because if he has a mistake like he did at the beginning of this race, it can very well set him back because it's only 5 seconds that difference between those two, and he lost a good bit of time. You can see on the ticker there from this start of this lap due to having to pass Rochelle and a couple little mistakes.
Yeah, turn 8 and turn 6 have been the difficult spots for Danny Cochran, and even this far into a run, it still is being difficult for the 31 machine. But luckily now he's got a lap car going to be in between himself and Mark Whitley, and that gap still over 3 seconds. That's where you can feel a little bit more comfortable. 4 laps, going to be 3 when we see that of 31 come across the line. 12 drivers on the lead lap currently. Some of the closest battles on track going to be for our leaders, going to be for 4th place, as well as the battling for 8th is the official closest for positioning, as Ethan Smith going to be having an interesting spot with himself and Dakota Moniz, as Ethan Smith, Cody Reed, when they had trouble back at Candid Corner about that 4 laps ago, it was Dakota Moniz that got contact with the re-emerging 00 back on course. And it's been Dakota that's been trying to just limp this 5 to the end of the race as they're slowly starting to catch up to that of Cody Reed.
Yeah, they'll be coming up here to take that 3 to go. 12 miles left here at this long, long racetrack here at Road America. And only 3 laps to go. You're like, all right, this race has very little left to it, but 3 laps here is an eternity. So these drivers really still got to hit their marks. Every point matters. We've seen, like we saw last time, there was a 3-way tie for the drivers moving on to this round. This 1 point here for Ethan Smith could very well be a point that moves him on. I mean, you never know how Nashville Fairgrounds is going to play out for all these drivers next week. It's a short track. It's a short track with a lot of unknowns. Not many times have we seen the trucks go there before. There's probably not a lot of drivers with the experience there, and it's very bumpy and tough. So, you want to make sure you come out here with every point you can, and he's going to be thinking of holding that 5 back here as best he possibly can. But Moniz having a good solid night here and really starting to close it down to that 00.
Trying to find any way to get by, but once again, it's for some drivers, their strengths are not in the passing zones. It seems to be the troublesome spot for this 5 machine. Those passing zones is where he's losing time to that of Ethan Smith. As continue to look at our ticker, that of Danny Cochran, 3 laps to go, as now he's got that about 2.5 laps still to take it to the end. And so long to worry about for that of the 31. Don't make any mistakes for yourself. Mark Whitley, on the other hand, just survive. I would say the same thing for Trent Jump. I would say for both the 77 and the 46. Yes, they would love to get a win. They would love to see that they're locked into the next round. But saying that you survived, starting on that restart, being all the way back in 14th and 15th place, I think they'll take a 2nd and 3rd at the end of the day.
Definitely, most definitely. I mean, they'll probably be circling that as, man, that was a moment where, maybe we could have been in a better position here to race with Cochran coming down to the end. But like you said, Sam, I mean, to start that far back on the restart, I mean, we've seen a lot of calamity when it comes to those restarts here on these road courses for these stages. And for Trenton Jump especially, I mean, he's got to be, really thinking back always the Watkins Glen is the one that got away this season. Is he hasn't been able to enter that victory lane yet. And, that could have been his chance. And here tonight, he's done a good solid job of rebounding from that damage, getting that fixed, and coming back out here to really position himself in the top 3 as he's got about 5 seconds still back to Christopher Norris. So he'll be looking to hold on to that position. But again, with only 2 laps to go here, there's still plenty of possibilities. If someone makes a huge mistake here, as you see Cochran's opened up about a 6-second gap, that's still within the reaches of somebody to go out there and really, throw it all away.
As everyone trying to just settle in and wait to see where you lie at the end of this race, Danny Cochran continues to gap himself to that of Mark Whitley as the rest of the field trying to just hold on. Tonight started off with drivers during practice recognizing this was going to be a tough night. This was all going to be about wheelmanship and holding on to a truck that's fighting you in every corner, each corner something different, and they've been doing a great job at it. We've also seen a lot of issues popping up for playoff drivers. Crazy to think, Nick Crawford, Cedric Connor, some of the favorites coming into this round to move on in battle for the round of 8. Well, now they're going to be in probably some of the biggest holes to dig out of going to Nashville Fairgrounds. And Zach, this 31, at one moment we saw be battling for 3rd in the first 3 laps of this race, spin out, fall back to 11th, and now has been kind of gifted a win, you could say, if it can hold on for the rest of this race.
Yeah, I got to credit him so much for that. That spin to a win here on a road course is very, very rare occurrence. And, Nick Crawford disconnecting, that was a huge factor, I think, in all of this because we saw his pace tonight was incredible. It really, really was. But I tell you what, Danny's fixed a lot of his issues he had in that first run, and he's been very mistake-free here. I would have liked to have seen those guys battle it out coming down to the end because it was only about a 2-second gap between them when Crawford did disconnect. But I tell you what, he's only going to have 2 miles here, and he's looking very clean so far.
4 miles, over 2 minutes to hold on. Hold your breath because it's the Ride Rad white flag in the air for Danny Cochran. No worries of a yellow anymore. It's all about just making it to the end. There's one car in front that he's got to worry about. That's going to be Noah Steele. But for this 31, he's got over a 6-second buffer to just limp this 31 to the end.
And I got to think back here, man, because it's been a long time since we've seen this driver in a podium position. I mean, you go all the way back to his win at Las Vegas and his one and only win this season for his last podium of this season. It's been a tough, really ride up to this point. Really only one top 5, and that was at Rockingham 2 weeks ago. He's had, 4 top 10s in those positions, but he's also had a 16th place, a 22nd place finish, a 23rd place finish. So I think here tonight, this is going to be good momentum for this 31 because this will lock him into the next round, and then he can go focus on Indianapolis and the North Wilkesboro Speedway. So he's got that chance to build up and not have to worry about heading into next week in Nashville if he could just bring it back to this checker flag.
As he's coming around the last couple of bends, it's going to be this number 31. He's closing in on the 8 machine and Noah Steele, which Noah, his goal was just to complete the race, and he's about to do so. But coming through the last couple of corners, through the carousel, turns 9 and 10 to the most difficult aspect of the night, the kink. Zach, this 31's been doing it all.
That he really has, man. He is just, ever since he's gotten the lead from Nick Crawford with his disconnect, it's been mistake-free. And again, like I said, I would have loved to see those two battle because he's found something here late in this race, a little bit more pace on the long run. I think it would have been maybe even very close between those two coming down to the end. But nonetheless, here he's got about almost a 9-second gap here, and he's only got 2 corners left here after Canada Corner.
After Canada Corner, you go through that of Thunder Valley. You're going to be going, weaving through the S's, and marching your way through turns 13 and over to the corner of turn 14. Danny Cochran gonna be able to take tonight. Yes, oh no, off the corner. He saw that of the lap car, overcorrects, giving us a scare, and able to read correct, get it back on track. And now we can say, booking his ticket to the round of 8. Danny Cochran wins here at Road America.
Whew, that was almost a little bit climactic.
Try and jump. Whoa, try and jump having issues coming out of turn number 14. Ooh. Christopher Norris is coming out of the corner clean. Can he get up the hill fast enough? The 38 trying to ramp it up the hill, but he won't get there in time. Or will he? It's going to be side by side, potentially at the line. And no, Trent holds on as Norris almost stealing it, as Ollie Fonseca will take 5th. Other close battles are going on for 6th place as they're coming around some up the hill. Oh man, Ethan Smith, Dakota Moniz, they're right on top of one another. Dakota not close enough. And the driving, the chaos. Whoa, Zach, that last lap certainly wanted to give us a scare for a second there.
Yeah, man, I tell you, if those gaps were closer between them, we would have seen a good bit of position changes there. I mean, oh man, that is got to be, you know, your heart was in the throat of those drivers right there. There was moments where they were saying, oh no, this is not what I wanted to do. And Logan Breaking not trying to be one of those. He's going to come out of 14 here and look to bring up a top 10 finish for himself. But man, what an ending there. Danny Cochran going off track in the very last corner. Trenton jump also, but the 31 though, man, even with those 2 mistakes here, he's able to hold on to that win.
As we're seeing the 19 coming around the corners as he's about to finish his lap. Danny Cochran got to be careful. If I think he might have been doing a little bit of premature burnouts as Old Field had not finished coming across the line, but able to have some fun now as everyone's finished out coming across. The 31, what a race. He fell back to that of 12th after a spin early on. The stage caution came out, reset, got gifted the lead after the dominant driver, Nick Crawford, disconnects, and now gets to have some fun and reassurance and gets that weight off his shoulders. Doesn't have to worry about the short track of Nashville's fairgrounds. Instead, Indianapolis, the round of 8, is the destination for the 31. As he gets to take a break, we will step aside. When we come back, it's the post-race show for that of the ISRC Race Car Graveyard Truck Series. We'll talk to our top 3. We'll talk about next week, and we'll be back in just a few. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the post-race show here on Freaky Fast Broadcasting for the ISRC Race Car Graveyard Truck Series. It's the start of the round at 12, and what a race we had. Disconnections, giant wrecks, and it was a driver that had to have a redemption story that gets himself into victory lane. Before we get to our victor, we're going to start things off with third place finisher Trenton Jump, get their thoughts on the hunt to get to Danny Cochran. As we've got that at Trenton Jump with us, Trenton, it's Sam and Zach up in the booth. Congratulations on a third place finish, but man, let's see what your thoughts are initially, and also what was going through your mind when you had to stay in a pit road extended time getting those repairs done.
Yeah, so I actually just sped on pit road. I don't know. I downshifted in the first going on my pit box, and it caught me speeding or what. I don't know. So I just sat there and was letting everybody go. I didn't have no damage. It just caught speeding penalty. So that's ultimately what didn't get us the shot to stay up front to even go win the thing. Because felt like once the tires kind of equalized, it wasn't really much you could do but try to save tires and hope everybody else burn theirs up. So.
Yeah, Trent, I tell you, that's what we seen a lot of tonight was a lot of mistakes out there from guys, and looked like that truck was pretty evil. Take us through it, man, because it seemed like you had a good grasp on it, but like you said, once it evened out, it was like you couldn't really do nothing.
Yeah, I don't know where the setup came from, but I'd like to pay whoever and give them a refund for it because it was terrible. I've never driven something so unstable in my life around a road course, especially with how much front camber they cranked to the thing. It was just awful.
Well, Trent, I know that a lot of drivers were saying very similar things about this setup and the way that it was working, but still a great finish for yourself. We're heading now to that of Nashville Fairgrounds to finish off this round. How are you feeling going from tonight's chaos with the setup to a short track where we really don't know what we're going to get ourselves into?
Yeah, I'm not really too worried about it. I think I got a decent points buffer here tonight, so just go do the same thing next week, points race.
Well, Trent, we're excited to see what you're going to bring next week. But for tonight, the floor is yours for any shout-outs.
Yeah, I just want to thank you guys for broadcasting the thing and the admins that helped keep this thing going along, and my painter Justin at Color Teal Graphics for painting this beautiful truck.
Well, that is going to be the 46th machine of Trenton Jump. Congratulations on third place here this evening, and good luck at the fairgrounds next week.
Yeah, see you guys next week.
As we go from third place, we had to second place for another driver that was doing their best to hunt to go for Danny Cochran, but came up short at the end. We got Mark Whitley with us. Mark, it's Sam and Zach up in the booth. Congratulations with a second place finish. Saw that you had to climb your way through traffic just like what we saw from Trenton Jump. What was the issue there, and how are you feeling after the way that this race ended?
Well, I'm feeling kind of tired right now. The other issue was starting in the back. I had a little damage during that first little stage where I got in the back of Norris after he got by me because I just missed my braking point because I was so up on top of him, and I kind of just missed it and just bonked him a little bit and had a little nose damage. So I had about 6 seconds of damage, but when we were coming down pit road, I just kind of was following Trenton, and like my foot kind of slipped and I like burped it too far, and it went to like 3 mile an hour over the speed limit, and I tried to hit the brakes to not get a speeding penalty, but it gave it to me anyway, so I had to go to the back. That wasn't fun, but we kind of came back through there, and I figured my best bet was just going to be to stay patient and just kind of pick our way through. I was hoping just to get a top 5 tonight. I didn't get a chance to practice before we came into the session. I didn't even get to practice as much as I did during the session, so I didn't think we were going to really have a chance for a win. I just wanted to get a good top 5 finish, for the playoffs, but kind of worked out. I know a lot of playoff drivers had a lot of bad luck. Cedric wrecked behind me early in the race. Then Nick was leading it. He was in his own zip code. He was going to walk away with it by a country mile and got disconnected. That's I feel really bad for him because he had the field covered inside and out. So after that happened, we just kind of kept creeping our way up and passing cars, and eventually got up to second, I think, and we were starting to slowly reel in Danny, and then it started to even out, and I was like, well, let's split the stage in two and just come in about 12 to go, and I think I went a little easy getting in the pits, and I lost a little bit of time, and so I couldn't gain as much as I wanted to. And then that last little bit with Danny, I mean, I was pushing it about as far as I could. I think we were both sitting there putting it on the limit, and there was a couple of times I pushed a little bit too hard and either went off track or missed my braking point a little bit and kind of just burnt the tires off of it, and he was able to walk away. And then I think he said he about choked it away on the last lap because he was focused on a lap car and he missed the last corner. So if I hadn't burnt my tires off, I might have been closer to him to give him a little bit more run for his money. But Danny's always fun to race against. especially a good result being second. Did not expect that at all coming into the night.
Yeah, Mark, I tell you, that's a great job, man, because like you said, many playoff drivers having big mistakes here tonight. A lot of other drivers having mistakes. Kind of take us through that because it seemed like it was so tough not to make a mistake here tonight.
Yeah, it took me literally the first 30 minutes in practice just to figure out how to get around this track without wrecking. So, a little just trying to make sure I stayed on track, and then we're a little iffy touch and go there the first couple laps, and I think Cedric was he was behind me going through the kink, and I think I just barely got off track and just grazed the grass, and I was able to just catch it real quick. And I don't know if he went off of it farther or he just overcorrected or what, but I know I looked in my mirror and it was like I could see the roof of his truck going across the track, and I was like, holy crap, that was a big wreck. And like I said, it was just after about the stage and we got back green, it was just about, for me, just keeping it on track, just get as many positions as possible and minimize mistakes, and just get as good of a point line as we can, because next week's a short track, which it's a short track I like, but it's still a short track, so there's never, things can happen. You could wind up with a bad race, so you just want to try to get as good a points position as you can, and maybe go try to win a race. That's what we were in a position we could challenge for it tonight, but hopefully next week we can go take one by the horns and get us a win.
I mean, Mark, we hope for the best there, but for tonight, the floor is yours for any shout outs.
Oh yeah, big shout out Brantley Harpoon Design, sponsor on board. Is also my spotter. I know he's not a huge fan of spotting these road courses. He says they're kind of boring, but I appreciate him being a sponsor and a spotter. Check him out at harpoondesign.com and get you something custom made pretty quick. Does really good work. Other sponsor, Shop Angry Duck. They're your one-stop shop for all your custom racewear apparel, hats, t-shirts, hoodies, pretty much anything you think of. If you want something custom made, they can make it for you, no order limits. So check them out at Shop Angry Duck. Then my family, always tuning in to broadcast the races, during the weekdays, during the weekend. Always appreciate them tuning in, just being a support group behind me. Gotta give a massive shout out to them, and shout out to y'all for putting on the broadcast free fast. Like I've said it 1,000 times, I feel like, but y'all are probably one of the best, if not the best, on the service. So always like racing in leagues y'all are in. It should be fun to go back and watch, and maybe a little bit less stressful to go back and watch this race than it was to drive it.
It was pretty stressful for us up in the booth as well, Mark, so I don't know if that's really going to be the case, but certainly thank you for giving us a great show to watch, and congratulations on second place, and good luck going to the fairgrounds next week.
Appreciate it, guys.
As we go from second place with Mark Whitley in the 77, we had Victory Lane, where we find that of the 31 of Danny Cochran, who had to fight and claw for everything after a great qualifying run, but had to fight back after the spill. We got that of the 31 with us. Danny, it's Sam and Zach up at the booth. Congratulations on the win and booking your ticket to the round of 8. But man, how are you feeling after all of that chaos that happened tonight?
In a word, sweaty. I am dripping with sweat, Sam. I mean, like, there is a pool on my chair on the back of it from where I've sweated so much. This is hands down the most grueling race we've ever done in this league, and I'm pretty confident in saying that. My knees are aching, arms are shaking a little bit from the old direct drive wheel. I'm pretty wore out.
Well, I tell you, Danny, this is huge momentum for you, man, because it's your first win since your first win this season back at Las Vegas on September 5th, and your first podium also since then. So I think this is some big momentum, not only to, help you for the rest of the playoffs, it also gives you those bonus points heading into the next round because you're locked in. So how big is tonight for that next round?
Oh, yeah, it's massive, Zach. Especially, like you said, I was thinking about this a couple days ago, how I hadn't talked to you all in here in so long. It's, man, it's been a little bit of an uphill battle ever since then, getting caught up in some stuff and just not having the best runs, which is, partially on me as well, along with the bad luck. But hopefully we can kind of catch fire here when it matters. Obviously, this isn't the way I wanted to get the win. It really sucks that the fastest guy here, Crawford, he had his connection issues. I don't know what happened, but it sucks that it came that way. But yeah, we're going to catch fire at, I feel like, the most crucial point in the season, so I'm really happy about that.
I mean, Danny, we're now coming to the point of the season where, we're expecting to see drivers fighting for everything. How does it feel knowing that going into Nashville Fairgrounds, a track that we really don't know what we're going to see, you don't have that pressure, and you can now start to think to Indianapolis?
Yeah, I'm really, really happy that I don't have to go into a short track worrying about my position and points. Because, like you said, Sam, we've never been there, really never been to a track like it in this league. So I'm gonna have a blast just being able to kind of sit back and watch what happens next week. Hopefully, I get to talk to you guys in here again off a good run. But yeah, it takes a lot of pressure off. Indianapolis, I'm not thrilled. I'm not super excited about it and looking forward to it because now this was over a year ago, so I'm sure they drive a little bit different now. But the last time we took the trucks there, this was in a different league, but last time I raced there in the trucks, it was really tight and it just overall wasn't fun to drive. So hopefully it's not the same and we get some good racing there, but I'm looking forward to it. I think we'll have some speed there.
We're excited to see what you're going to bring also into next week. Congratulations, Danny, on this run. And before we let you go, the floor is yours for any shout outs.
Nick Crawford, first and foremost, because he had the truck to beat tonight. He was the fastest guy here. Practiced with him some last night. He was miles ahead of everyone else. So I really feel for him in this situation. Shout out to Lids and Christopher Norris for hooking us up with the prize for this race, the custom hat. I got an idea of what I want to do with it, but I ain't quite sure yet. But really cool what they're doing. And shout out to the admins and always you guys for putting this on.
As that is going to be the 31 of Danny Cochran. Congratulations on tonight's run, and good luck next week at Surviving at Nashville.
Thanks, guys.
As we go from talking to our top three, let's take a look at the unofficial results of tonight's races. It was a wild one this evening on where drivers were finishing at the end of the day. Who could survive? That was a big question for a lot of drivers. But the ones that did, Danny Cochran going to be up front getting the win and locked in until that of the round of 8. Mark Whitley going to be in that second place for the 77. Trenton Jump going to be in third. Christopher Norris gets fourth, as well as that of Oli Fonseca going to get fifth for himself. That of John Forbes, sixth. Ethan Smith, seventh. Dakota Moniz going to get that of eighth. Cody Reed falling down to ninth. And Logan Brakey surviving and grabbing himself a top 10 finish.
Yeah, great job there from the top 10. But as you look farther through the list there, Tyler Daniels going to bring home in 11th. He survived it here tonight, too. So great job by him. But Noah Steele there in 12th. Kyle Rochelle in 13th. Nick Crawford 14th. Eric Stamp in 16th. And 17th is Cedric Hunter there. That's all playoff drivers who had tough nights here tonight, one way or another, just due to speed, pace, mistakes, or just having a major, just fluke of a moment where your internet goes out for you. So tough breaks, but man, they do have one race left to try to make all that up, Sam.
The round of 12, just as quick as it started, about to come to a conclusion. That next race is the Nashville it's going to be Nashville Fairgrounds. The drivers got to get a taste of Nashville at the end of the regular season. Well, it's not concrete. It is short track racing where drivers will be on top of one another. And it certainly should be a good show to watch as we're in the middle of playoff action all over the place here on Freaky Fast Broadcasting. As also going to be tomorrow night, Full Send Racing Series. They get to start their playoff push on who is going to win the championship. They've got their 12 drivers, and now the question is who will conquer in their playoff system. Then Wednesday night, also going to be cutoff racing to see who's going to race for the Final Four in the Wicked Racing League. Thursday's done. We already had their championship race. If you want to go back, go check out the Stars and Stripes championship race at Michigan. It was a thriller to watch. And then as well on that of Saturday, it's the WSSR. It's their championship race. Who will win in their Final Four? And Zach, I know that you're getting a little stressed about how Saturday's going to go down.
Yeah, very, very stressed. Definitely got a tall task there going into that race, but definitely been preparing. And I think it'll be one to watch out for. So it's definitely gonna be fun. And I know the pressure that these guys are going through week in and week out. It's so tough when you get in these playoffs and when you can just go out there and get the relief of getting a win, which I did luckily to lock me into a round. I know the feeling that Danny Cochran's kind of going through. It just kind of relieves you and lets you actually prep for that next round. And that's kind of hopefully the prep that comes back and helps me this Saturday.
Hoping for all the advantages you can get. And if you want to be in repping and great merch, great repping and great equipment, well, say thanks to all the amazing sponsors of the ISRC Race Car Graveyard Truck Series is picked up. That at Race Car Graveyard, LP24 Clothing, the qualifying sponsor of the Laugh Lap, as well as the Stage Break sponsor, that of Lariat Productions, Ride Rad for their white flag, and all the other ones that they have of more casts, Color Teal Graphics, as well as 213 Simware. And for us here at Freaky Fast Broadcasting, thank you so much for joining us here tonight. For myself, Sam Dyer, for Zach Hall, for Robert Moyer, and everyone else that helps out here at Freaky Fast Broadcasting, thank you for joining us here tonight. More playoff racing throughout the week. We'll see you tomorrow night. It's the Full Send Racing Series.